Okay, guys. Ooh, my baby hairs are sticking straight up. Almost did it again. Almost did it again. So today I'm going to be sharing some slides, and Instagram does not make that easy for me. So we might be learning together, but I got this hair up my you-know-what, and I couldn't let this idea go. So today I want to talk about, in our live, before I answer some questions, I want to talk about the difference between a consequence and a punishment, because we get some people seeing some snapshots in our reels of, the habit builder cards and the rules, and they're calling them punishments. But there is a difference between consequences and punishments that is fairly large. So I want to explain that a little bit first, and look at me, change slides. Takes a few taps. But a consequence can be natural. It can be the result of an action that's just natural. Like you don't want to wear a coat outside and now you're cold. Being cold is a natural consequence. And natural consequences are lovely when they exist. But a lot of times the natural consequences that exist, my kids don't necessarily care about. So you're mean to your sister, the natural consequence is that maybe your sister's not going to like you, or there's a spat between the two of you that then disrupts my peace. Those are the natural consequences, and my kids don't really care about that. So there's imposed consequences or logical consequences, and those maintain accountability and they ensure safety, but they do it in a way that doesn't include shame or like a "what is wrong with you" vibe, or like "what are you doing?" That's not part of consequences. That is part of punishments. Change asset, scroll through, click. Look at that, you guys, I'm doing it. Those are punishments. Punishments is a response that aims to cause pain or suffering or shame or embarrassment. On my profile page, pinned at the top, there is a reel called something like, "Why are you wearing that?" Right? Watch that. It explains how I deliver the cards in a way that and the family rules helps me do this, that I'm delivering consequences in a way that isn't causing shame or embarrassment or suffering or criticism even. So that's are they always natural consequences? No. Like I said, because kids don't always care about the natural consequence. So why is this helpful? So kids' prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed. If you're just joining us, I'm joining you from my closet. Forgot to say that. It's the only place that's quiet. With 3 kids, a husband watching the Iowa game, and a dog. So here I am. So kids' brains respond to what's immediate, what's concrete, what's external, and this is especially true for ADHD brains. So if you've ever heard of Dr. Russell Barkley, he has this hours-long lecture that you can watch on YouTube called Essential Ideas for Parents. It's for parents of kids with ADHD, but all kids' brains are not fully developed. Their prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed, and they respond especially well to immediate or external consequences, or respond especially well to external structures, because their brain doesn't have those structures on the inside. So kids being young or having an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, or a kid having ADHD, which just might mean they have delays in those developments and delays in emotional regulation, it doesn't mean they have a lack of knowledge. It means they have a lack of impulse control. So knowing that they're not supposed to do something, and there's not always a link between knowing they're not supposed to do it and actually not doing it in the moment. They have a hard time controlling those impulses, right? So the brain can't hold on to the rule in the moment. And this is where immediate, concrete, and external consequences are super helpful in changing behavior. Now I have to change the slide, so bear with me. Okay, so ADHD brains do not respond to, or kids' brains that are not don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, if they already know that something's not okay, their brains do not respond to more, they don't need more information. Their brains aren't responding to long explanations, lectures, delayed consequences, or consequences that are very long in nature. So no technology for 2 weeks. Their brains have moved on by at least day 2, if not way sooner. Or like, we'll talk about it later. Their brains aren't responding to those things. And what they do respond to, click, clickety, click, click, consequences that are immediate, that are predictable, that are non-emotional, and connected to a rule. This actually interrupts the behavior pattern. And in the Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline workshop, we're having them participate in better habits, like spending more time in better habits. Now, like some of the ways that this system works, I didn't even predict. It works better than I even ever could have imagined for reasons I did not anticipate. So, for instance, like if my kid gets a card to organize our junk drawer, they might be mad at first. They might throw a tantrum about that. They may earn more cards over picking that card. But then they organize the junk drawer and they're like, Mom, look, come see. And I get to be like, wow, it sets up the system for more positivity and gives them something to be proud of and gives them a way to work off their guilt. And my 13-year-old this year in parent-teacher conferences, her teacher was like, your daughter organized my whole closet. And she keeps it organized by kind of like policing everyone in how they interact with the things in the closet. And she's letting them know, like, that has a home, put it away. And I knew that before my kid's teacher told me that, because my kid came home and told me about it because she was proud. Okay? So when consequences are immediate, predictable, non-emotional, and connected to a rule, it actually interrupts behavior patterns. Picking the next slide. Okay, so the Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline workshop works for a lot of reasons. Here are a few. It removes the need for lectures because your family rules are connected to a certain number of habit builder cards. So if you go and watch that reel that I talked about, where I'm like, where it's called, "Why are you wearing that?" There's no reason to lecture. Everybody knows what's okay and what's not okay, and we're all clear about it. There's no need to lecture. Oh, didn't mean to push that button. And my nose is running all of a sudden out of nowhere. It's immediate. Kids respond to immediate consequences, not lectures, okay? That's not the number I meant to choose. I can't see these. It's external and it's concrete. It's external and it's concrete. So especially ADHD brains, but all kids struggle with internal regulation, but they respond beautifully to external structure. A physical card that they draw, that's concrete. It's real. It's something they can do, and it's something they have to think about. It disrupts the behavior loop. So every time they break a rule and immediately draw cards, the brain starts pairing behavior, consequence, and you're not relying on anger, frustration, and irritation to be your boundaries. So you're not getting pushed to your edge and being forced into interactions that leave everybody feeling worse, not better. If you feel guilty at times because you've been pushed over your edge, but you also feel like if you don't yell, your kids don't listen, then that tells me that there's not meaningful ways that you have to put boundaries in place or have consequences to back those up. The one thing that you're relying on is getting pushed past your limit. And that degrades the relationship and then has kids less likely to listen next time because they don't want to please people they're angry at and or don't respect. It teaches skills, not fear. So cards aren't punishments, they're skill builders. There's things like cleaning and organizing and connecting with a sibling or doing something for someone or moving their body or contributing to the house. So the child isn't just paying for the behavior. They're practicing skills. They're practicing good habit skills. This is the most important one. It keeps parents regulated. Our system keeps parents regulated. It keeps them from yelling, from arguing, and it gives them an easy, predictable way to follow through. My closet is so messy, you guys. Okay, so let's get to those questions. So we have a few today. So I'm having trouble enforcing the no screens till cards are done rule. So in this system, you get to pick what is your kid's currency or what privileges will be removed until cards are done. So this person has chosen screens, and they have a 15-year-old and 17-year-old, but has a hard time enforcing the no screens rule because they'll have practice or need to go to work, and then they'll need their phones, but she knows they'll be playing games on their phones while they have them. Like, what do you do? Just lose their phones no matter what until cards are done? Sure, that's one way to do it. Yeah. We survived without phones. Also, I have a managing screens workshop. So if you did our Relate Well membership, which if you're currently participating in the Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline workshop, there's a coupon code on your workshop page to kind of upgrade to our Relate Well membership, where you get access to all of our workshops for 3 months. And within that is our Managing Screens workshop, where I show you how I have managed our kids' screens. And one of those ways is through a thing that I've used called RPact, which works great if your kids do not have an Apple Watch, or at least that's how it was not that long ago. Maybe they fixed something. It works great if your kids don't have an Apple Watch and or using setting up screen time on their iPhone. So I can shut all my kids' apps down from my phone, and I show you how I set up all of that and how we use our router to kind of shut down technology or have schedules around it so kids aren't on technology all day every day. I feel like I try to set it up in a way like it's the 80s or 90s, like when I grew up. So when I grew up, there was an unlimited amount of TV that I wanted to watch. Eventually, soap operas came on, and I was like, I'm bored, I'm getting out of here. Now, it's an endless stream of things that they would want to watch, and it's highly addictive. Do you pay deep clean money and regular being alive money? My 16-year-old would make $16 to $30 for deep clean chore. I don't know what that question means. My 16-year-olds usually get jobs. So I think they then have their work money and then their chore money. So if your chore money isn't paying adequately for their wants and you don't want them to have a job outside of the house, then you might think about increasing that. You might have to play with that. I have caught my child on his video game console or phone or computer at night on several occasions in the last 6 months. We have tried having him check in these items, but on more than one occasion, he has snuck in while we were asleep to take back his video game remotes. Lockboxes are cheap on Amazon or wherever you prefer to shop. Pure luck, mother's intuition allowed me to catch him 3 to 4 times. He has a TV and his own video game console in his room. I am concerned that he has an addiction to technology. So again, utilizing the apps for router control, you can shut down Wi-Fi at certain times. Now, if he has a phone and he's taking it, then they can use their hotspot to turn those things on. So that's got to be in the lockbox. And she's concerned that he's addicted to technology. Yeah, it's addictive. It's an addictive substance. It's an addictive thing. I don't give my kids alcohol or unlimited amounts of caffeine. That's monitored, so I monitor their technology knowing that it's addictive. He turned 15 in November. He's a good kid, has friends, is generally obedient, has good grades, plays multiple sports. However, my husband and I do notice he looks tired and lacks real motivation. Might be typical, like teenager stuff, might not be. It's like he's just going through the motions to get back to his gaming. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're wondering about limiting the gaming, and you can try it. Here's the thing I want people to know, like, you can try things, see how it goes, change your mind, go back to the original plan, or choose something else. See everything as an experiment, but it sounds like you're feeling, something's not feeling right about this whole, unlimited access to games or him sneaking in at night. Somebody says they'll be starting the family rules card soon. Details on how to manage drawing cards immediately. Our privileges are moved immediately. Yep. If you're not home, do you mark down in your phone? Yeah. And then do the stuff when you get home, or do they draw cards, or do they build up? I don't know what that last part means. If they build up. Sometimes kids have a buildup of cards, but I think you're asking something different, and I don't quite know what it is. Next Q&A is Saturday. If you want to clarify, do that, and I'll answer it on Saturday. Somebody asks about cleaning. Understand the option for your kids to earn dollars for once by deep cleaning specific areas. Curious, what are your kids' daily chore lists like? So that's included on the documents. They straighten up their zone, pick up, maybe wipe down, maybe little extras need to be, maybe there's something that needs to be swept. It's just like tidying their zones. And then they have specific things that go along depending on which zone they have. That's all in the documents. So looking for the difference between weekly chores and daily chores. So the weekly chores are the deep clean list, and the daily chores are the ones labeled daily chores. I don't know how to explain that more. And on the documents, I have like when they need to be completed by. So daily chores in my house need to be completed at 4. Sometimes we change that based on season. Like, weekly chores are usually due on Sunday by 4 because I don't want people in my kitchen when I'm making dinner. And then, but in the summer, my son was like, hey, can we talk about like not doing chores on Sundays? And I was like, yeah, what's going on? And so his friends had some stuff like during the week where they weren't available, but his friends were always available on Sunday. And he was like, could we do them on Fridays by 4? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Sure. So we changed it over the summer for Fridays at 4. Now my kids can do them do their deep clean chores anytime between Friday evening and Sunday They just have to be done Sunday by 4. So there's some flexibility there. I have my kids about 65% of the time. We just started this system and seeing great results. Awesome. Co-parent in the other house is skeptical. What would you say to an objection about redeeming themselves with cards versus just a straight consequence of no screens for a certain amount of time? So I addressed this in the beginning. Those delayed consequences don't do much to change behavior, but they do produce shame and probably more bad behavior if they don't have a way to work out of their not so great behavior or their broken rule. So recommendations for split households. Oh, the other parent also wants me to give consequences for behavior at other house that doesn't fit within our system. So I think ideally when there's when you're co-parenting with a parent that doesn't live inside your house, I think ideally everybody's on the same page. You can't control that though. You can't control what system they use, and they can't control what system you use. If everybody's on the same page, then we can carry over consequences. If we're not using the same system, then that's difficult, right? Or that's not possible. So then I would say if we can't use the same system or we're not willing to get on the same page, then consequences carry over when they're back at your house, which is unfortunate. But it's what you have control over. And that's all we can do. And I think kids adapt. Every year kids get a different teacher with a new set of rules, with a new set of expectations, with a different attitude, with different things that bother them. Kids are good at adapting to different environments. We all are. So I don't think it's the end of the world that you guys use different systems. And that's okay. Okay. So I've gotten some questions here. These are sometimes a little bit tough for me to read. Is this just growing pains of the system? I'm finding my 5-year-old will get cards in the evening before bed, but then when it comes to doing them the next day, it ruins our day because he's moved on. I think part of this is just in delivery. And making sure that it's just like, well, no big deal. No big deal. We've just got some cards to do. It doesn't have to ruin your day. And this might be a conversation you have when the child is calm and regulated. Like, I've noticed that when you have cards, it kind of ruins your day. Like, I don't need you to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Here are some examples of some mistakes that I've made recently and how I'm not perfect, or things I did as a kid. I talk about it a lot. There's a great video, a TED Talk on YouTube about being brave, not perfect. I think that's a great one for kids to watch. I think some kids tend towards perfectionism or are more prone to feeling shame, more shame prone. And we just might have to talk to these kids a little bit more about how mistakes are good. And actually people who are more comfy making mistakes tend to be more successful in the long run. And how it's not a big deal. Like getting cards it's you don't want to do them. It's like things we kind of like wouldn't choose to do sometimes. But yeah, we don't need them feeling pain about it. We don't need them feeling bad. Just do the cards and move on. And I think the more you use it and the more they do it, the more they realize that. In the beginning, my two big feeling kids out of 3 had big feelings and reactions about doing this. And sometimes they still will in the beginning. And you think this tantrum is never going to end. And then one especially will just come out of her room and just start, without words, just start doing the cards that she said she was never gonna do. Let me scroll back. Somebody asked about what are some examples of consequences for a 9-year-old boy? I'm having a hard time finding his currency. So in our system, the consequences are the good habit or the better habit cards, and those are all laid out. Finding his currency, what does he really want? What does he spend a lot of his day doing? What are privileges? Ask the internet the difference, what are privileges that a 9-year-old might have? That will give you some ideas about things that could be removed until the consequences are completed or fulfilled. What if it doesn't keep the parent regulated? And that parent has some work to do around regulation. And if we want our kids to be regulated, then we have to model regulation. And I think understanding that what our brains do when they're triggered can be super helpful in knowing what to do next, what to say next, where to put your body next. And for that, we have a free training called How to Not Get Stuck. It's a communication training, but in it, I talk about the affective neuroscience of being triggered in an argument and what happens to our brain. I think just knowing some of that stuff helps us detach from what's happening. Like just because our brain is telling us it wants to do something, like doesn't mean that we should, or it's the next best move. And I think knowing a little bit about what is happening and why it's happening can be really helpful in doing something different. Checking, I'm just scrolling. You're scrolling for more questions. Okay, I think that's it. We started with screens and it didn't have enough of an impact and moved on to toys for my son. Immediately saw a change using that as a privilege. Okay. Interesting. Might be certain toys, or, I just want to make sure that kids in the time, like I also don't need cards to be done right away. Like, let go of the need for you to say, they say you have cards and them to do them right away. They have cards. When my kids have cards, the things that are taken away are things that I want limited anyway, except for friends. I mean, not really friends. But then they have this whole list of things to do that it's good for them. They can read. They can listen to books on Audible books on their Alexa. They can piddle around and do crafts. They can do all kinds of things, and that's okay. Like, great. Don't do your cards. Don't bother me. That's fine. But at some point, I think, and then this is what you want. You want, like, at some point, oh, so-and-so wants to do something with you. I hope you're done by the time they leave, because and they'll like come up against that wall a couple of times where it's like, sorry, you can't go. You had some like outstanding cards. Like, that stinks. Like, somebody wants to do something right now and they can't because they got 15 cards or something. And I think the more you use this, the more like kids just like trying not to say which kid. One of my kids who babysits, like, hates this system, thinks that it's dumb, thought that it was dumb. But she will say, like, the kids that she babysits needs this. Like, she needs it while she's babysitting. She'll come home and say, they need your system. And I'm like, oh, that stupid system? The stupid system? Well, we don't need it, but they do. Oh, okay. So on the daily chores is just a small paragraph, like on somewhere in the chores document. Hang on, let me look it up. Oh, my light turned off. So on the chores schedule example, there's a table where I put like dates, weeks, and then who has which zones. So I just bloop, 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 bloop that out for a good few months. And then that lives inside of our pantry. And then if you scroll down, there are what are daily chores. It's not labeled daily chores, but it says like each zone and then what's included in those daily chores. Deep clean, and then there's instructions. Deep clean chores may be done blah, blah, blah by 4 p.m. We won't deep clean bedrooms every week. I will write in the schedule or add it to your phone chore list when it needs to be done. Random chores will also be added to your daily chore list, and there may be opportunities to earn more money. So yeah, there are times that I earn or add extra chores to their list. Like I'm just walking around the house and I see stuff that needs to be done, and I'll just send them stuff in their daily chores. So daily chores include picking up their zone and the things listed on that last page. Maybe I need to be more clear about that on the template. I will do that later. Maybe not today. Okay. All right, guys. I think that's it. Yeah, that could be more clear. I will make that clearer. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Let us know what questions you have. If you have joined the Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline workshop, you can submit questions for our next Q&A on Saturday. Within the workshop page, just scroll down until you see the little link that says submit questions for the next Q&A. And if you haven't joined us, you can comment HELP or HALP to join. If you're watching this now, if you're watching the replay, and then our robot will send you a link where more information lives. And other things that I've mentioned, the How to Not Get Stuck workshop, if you comment conflict, our robot will send you a link for that. And it's just a short communication training. I usually send it for, it's the framework that it's delivered. The relational framework is like couples, but it applies to everyone, everywhere, anytime. And then the other thing that I mentioned is our Relate Well membership. If you are a member of the Family Rules, Chores, and Systems for Discipline workshop, you get $37 off, making it only $47 for you to have all access pass to all of our workshops, including the one that I mentioned, which is the Managing Screens workshop. So I hope that helps. Let me know what you need, and I'll talk to you soon.